Say software test planning. It is an initial phase of software test process or software test life cycle. Next, what is software test process or software test life cycle? The fundamental test process comprises below phases. One is test planning and control. The fundamental test process comprises test planning and control. Next, test analysis and design. Next, test implementation and execution. Next, evaluating exit criteria and reporting. And last one, test closure activities. The fundamental test process comprises test planning, test design, test execution, and test closure. Okay. Next, what is test planning? The activity of establishing or updating a test plan. The activity of establishing or updating a test plan. It is an initial phase of software test process. Next, what are the important tasks in test planning phase? Important tasks: understanding and analyzing test requirements. Next, risk analysis. Next, test strategy implementation. How to test? Say, understanding requirements, risk analysis, test strategy implementation. Next, test estimations. Next, team formation, test plan documentation, configuration management planning. Next, creating traceability matrix. See, test lead creates traceability matrix document, but all team members update this document throughout the life cycle. Next, defining test environment setup. Test lead defines test environment setup based on SRS document. Next, technical support people implement test environment setup. Next, testers means team members implement, verify test environment setup during test execution. See, test lead defines test environment setup. Technical support people implement test environment setup, implement test environment. Next, testers verify test environment. Okay. See, important tasks in test planning phase of software test life cycle: understanding and analyzing requirements, risk analysis, test strategy implementation, test estimations, team formation, test plan documentation, configuration management planning, creating traceability matrix, defining test environment setup. Next, what is test plan? A document describing the scope, approach, resources, and schedule of intended test activities. Test plan, a document describing the scope, approach, resources, and schedule of intended test activities. Next, what is IEEE test plan template? IEEE, Institute of Electrical and Electronics Engineers. It is non-governmental organization. from US, head office, corporate office available in New York City. Institute of Electrical and Electronics Engineers, non-governmental organization. What is IEEE test plan template? See, test plan identifier, introduction, references, test items, features to be tested, features not to be tested, approach, item, pass or fail criteria, suspension criteria, test deliverables, testing tasks, environmental needs, responsibilities, staffing and training needs, schedule, risk and contingencies, and approvals. Next, what are the reference documents for test planning phase? Reference documents are input for test planning phase. Requirements, project plan, test strategy, next design documents, process guidelines docs, next corporate standard docs. See, first three are mandatory references, mandatory. Last three are optional. What are the first three? Mandatory documents for test planning phase. Mandatory reference documents. Requirements, project plan, test strategy. Who prepares project plan? Project manager prepares project plan. Okay. Next, optional documents. Design docs, process guidelines docs, next corporate standard docs. Next, what is the output of test planning phase? Test plan document. Test plan document. Next, what are the considerable factors for test estimations? Scope of the project, time, resources, means available human and environmental resources, budget, scope of the project, time, resources, and budget. Next, who is the author of test plan document? Test lead. Test lead is the author of test plan document, but all team members, means all testers, contribution is required for test plan documentation. Next, who approves test plan document? Who approves? Generally, project manager approves the test plan document after the review process. Next, what are the test deliverables in software test process? Test deliverables, what software we use and what hardware we use and what documents we produce during testing, what documents we produce during testing, all come under test deliverables. Here test deliverables are test plan document, test cases, test design specifications, tools and their outputs, simulators, static and dynamic generators, error logs and execution logs, problem reports and corrective actions, etc. Test plan document, test cases, test data, test design specifications, tools and their outputs, simulators, static and dynamic generators, error logs, execution logs, problem reports, and corrective actions. Next, what is master test plan? A test plan that typically addresses multiple test levels, unit testing, integration testing, system testing, and acceptance testing. A test plan that typically addresses multiple test levels. Thank you.